The following NRA Life of Duty program is presented without commercial interruption by FNH USA.
One of our great advantages at Frontlines and the Life of Duty Network is to get to unprecedented places and do interviews where very few others get to go. Chuck and Dennis recently returned from a deployment with the Panamanian Border Police, one of those units operating very quietly in this hemisphere against narco-terrorism. So Chuck, now you've been to Panama more than I have.
I lived there.
Panama has changed dramatically in the last few years. Describe it.
One of the amazing things about Panama is that they don't have a military. They only have a police force. And so the police force is broken down into lots of different functions, one of which is fighting narco-terrorists, fighting against the flow of drugs that naturally comes through Panama as a bridge between South America and North America. Like their Border Patrol counterparts in the United States, these specially trained agents are responsible for securing their country's borders against drug and human smugglers, as well as other illegal incursions. The most elite of the Panamanian police go by the name Senafront.
Our mission is to serve and protect the lives of every person here in Panama.
Because most Colombian cocaine travels north to the United States, Panama has become the front line in the war on drugs in the Western Hemisphere. The U.S. is increasing its role in the region, working closely with the Panamanian government to defeat the cartels in Panama using tactics perfected on the other side of the border in Colombia.
The U.S. donates clothes, equipment, and boots to our soldiers and help them train. When they send us doctors, we bring them to the poor areas to give medical help to the community. All support we get is in training for better service and better equipment.
The U.S. has intervened here in Panama 18 times since the country was formed. Panama had become a military dictatorship when Omar Torrijos took power in 1980. His successor, Manuel Noriega, allied himself initially with the United States, even going so far as to become an agent in the Central Intelligence Agency. But before long, it became clear the Panamanian leader was playing both sides of the fence. Tensions rose to a crescendo in 1989 when Noriega's forces began harassing American military and civilians in the Canal Zone. On the 19th of December in 1989, the U.S. military descended on Panama by land, sea, and air. After some initial resistance, the Panamanian military and police surrendered, and within weeks, Noriega had been arrested and shipped back to the United States to stand trial for drug trafficking and money laundering. A new government took power in Panama, and the country began to heal after 50 years of dictatorship. 2 decades later, Panama enjoys the fastest growing economy in Latin America and has become an economic and financial powerhouse in Central America. We've been driving east out of Panama City now for a couple hours, and the further you get away from the city, the more the landscape just turns into jungle and some scattered Indian villages, and that's about it. Very rural area out here. It gets more and more extreme the further away we get, and that's because we're getting close to what's known as the Darien Gap. That is about a 57-mile stretch of jungle that is virtually impenetrable. The road just ends here and picks up again in Colombia. It certainly is not impenetrable for people. Panama's defining feature isn't the jungle, though. It's the Panama Canal. Completed in 1911 by the United States, it transports thousands of ships each year from one ocean to another across the narrow isthmus. But the canal connects more than just oceans. The history of the U.S. and Panama will forever be linked because of its 70-mile waterway. More than 5,000 Americans died here from accidents and disease while the canal was being built. Many of the traits that make the country desirable for legal commerce also attract the illegal kind, like money laundering and narco trafficking. Because most cocaine travels north to the U.S., Panama has become the front line in the war on drugs in the Western Hemisphere. Checkpoints every few miles underscore the magnitude of the problem. We went through the checkpoint at a place called Agua Fria, and this is the first checkpoint that is operated by Senafront inside the Darien. It's basically a border patrol checkpoint that's removed from the border a little ways that catches drugs coming through. The guy was telling us that they get a lot of drugs coming through there, hidden in trucks full of fruit and vegetables and things like that. They also have a lot of human trafficking that comes through there. But typically what will happen is the bus will bring the illegal aliens up close to this checkpoint and then let them off, and they'll walk around through the jungle and then pick them up on the other side. A few times every year, adventurous souls decide to hike from Panama across the Darien to Colombia. More than a few are never seen again. The small town of Yavisa is the literal end of the road. It's the furthest point south you can drive from North America. From there, all transportation is done by water. These agents of the Panamanian Border Police are out here in the jungles of the Darien at a training base called Meteti. Today they're doing training on a new pistol. And for them it's very serious because they know that their enemy, the FARC, is also serious about what they're doing.
Today, we're planning an exercise to infiltrate a base and take the objective. We are starting with sniper and advanced shooting. We give them different coordinates and points of strategy. The troops are in position and ready to begin the exercise.
It's early morning, and there are almost 100 of these Panamanian border police that are getting ready to leave and go upriver deep into the jungle. They're going to stay for almost a month. From here, everything happens by boat.
We're on the Rio Chucunaco. We're heading upriver. In this area, every village is an Indian village, from the Kuna, the Embera, and the Wonan. Everything happens movement-wise on the river, and that includes drug trafficking and human smuggling, and that's why these guys are here.
Several tribes of Indians live in the Darien, and their way of life has changed very little in thousands of years. They subsist by hunting and gathering, much as their ancestors did, with one unfortunate difference. The drug trade threatens to destroy their simple and harmonious way of life. Narco-traffickers often force the Indians to act as drug mules, transporting bricks of cocaine into the city under threat of violence.
It's important to take care of the poor communities, to keep them safe from the FARC.
¿Tu mamá dónde está exactamente?
Por ahí adentro.
Está por dentro. Ah, bueno, le dice que cualquier cosa estamos aquí, que ustedes son importantes para nosotros. Vean, aquí tiene, muchas gracias.
We are helping them so they know to trust us, and they know we are here to protect them. We are not like the FARC.
Para tener una oportunidad de trabajo, por favor, háganlo. Estamos esperando que de verdad los muchachos jóvenes lleguen y que se incorporen a la institución. Así que muchas gracias y pase buenas tardes. Igual.
We are their friends, and they are the enemies.
Queremos brindarles para que hagan una sopora en la tarde, que nos acordamos de ustedes siempre, siempre nos acordamos de ustedes, y nosotros estamos en nuestro plan de seguridad ciudadana, ¿verdad? Llegarles aquí a las casas, a las diferentes comunidades.
Panama has taken an increasingly tough stance on drug trafficking, and Senafront represents the tip of the spear. With better pay and specialized training, these men and women represent the best Panama has to offer, and they take great pride in their work.
We get support from institutions from Panama and other countries that support Senafront. We have made big changes and now have more security in the area. Thanks to the government, We are keeping the FARC under control and keeping an eye on the border. We have already destroyed multiple FARC camps and started taking back our territory.
Centerfront agents here put their lives on the line against an enemy with more money and better weapons, knowing that the narco-terrorists will stop at nothing to get their poisonous cargo through. These agents train like their lives depend on it because their enemy not only ignores the border, they know no boundaries of decency or respect.
The U.S. DEA and some of our special operations people are very quietly involved in helping them deal with this problem. Give us a sense for how it's affecting the average Panamanian. There's not the opposition to the Americans that there once was down there.
There's not, but they still have to be very careful about advertising the fact that the United States is helping in any way. But one of the things Centerfront was very proud to show us was some of the materiel that they have been provided by the United States. They've received all-terrain vehicles, they've received some boats, they've received training on those things. And these guys are doing some very good work in very austere conditions and doing it very well.
Great report. I'm glad you and Dennis made it back safely, despite the Beatles. That's the kind of report you'll get routinely right here at Frontlines, brought to you by FN on the Life of Duty Network.